Clothing, something all of us wear every single day. Now, its most basic purpose is to shield us appropriately from the weather, but there's more to it than just covering up. See, we express our interests through our clothing and what we wear, and any subcultures that we may participate in or belong to are reflected in our clothing as well. Now, what is a subculture? An easy way to think about subculture is a group of people who bond over shared interests, and they create their own little culture based on their shared interests. Now, how clothing ties into that, it reflects those interests, and people can see people who wear clothing fitting of a similar subculture that they belong to as one of them. Now, what about you? What do your clothes have to say right now? What cultures do you belong to? Now, if you're wondering about the group aspects of subculture, I've actually done a lot of research on it in the past couple semesters. I wrote 2 papers specifically on how subculture relates to clothing. First off, I'd like to talk about the group aspects of subculture. Kawamura, an author and sociological researcher whose work I enjoyed analyzing when doing my research, has stated that human beings define themselves through group associations, whether it is a company, family, or school. A subculture is a community, organization, or group within the larger world of the dominant culture. Now, how does clothing tie into that, you might wonder? Well, one subculture in which clothing plays a big role in is in music. Specifically, I remember a couple years ago, the band Turnstile, who I really enjoy, had a profile in GQ magazine in which they took photos of the band and the attendees of the show, showing that they all had kind of similar styles of clothing going on. And what's interesting about that is it's not like it's a mandated uniform to go to a hardcore punk show, but you see everyone at that show had a similar kind of thing going on. Now, why is that? The writer of the GQ article, Noah Johnson, has stated, "Style and hardcore go hand in hand. As with any music subculture, punk, hip-hop, country, the devotees to the movement have a sort of uniform." Now, why does that happen? Well, it could be just that their clothing expresses a similar mood or theme as the music expresses. And how does clothing exactly express something? Well, one way that author and journalist Jill DiDonato has looked at it is she views clothing as a visual language. And with that, clothing would be viewed as a form of nonverbal communication, just as our body language. And within that, our clothing essentially expresses our mood, our mission statement, our goals, our ethics, and other things all packaged nicely into a garment that we choose to wear. Now, what about you? What do you choose to say today with your clothing? I think it's really interesting how clothing can express so many different things in such a simple manner.